What is up? Welcome to the NFL Rundown, brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm your host, Astaire, joined by Tyler Hicks. Tyler, we've combined the sides, totals, and props because we are down to 6 games. It's the playoffs. We don't have to talk about the Giants. We don't have to talk about the Bears. We don't even have to talk about the Jaguars. How great is that? Only quality teams. Well, there's one I would argue that doesn't deserve to be talked about either, but we will get right into it. Hey, we just broke down some NBA. Now we switched into the NFL. Any just overarching thoughts on the NFL before we get started game by game?
No, I mean, I just think it's pretty wide open this year. I mean, you look at these playoff brackets, there's like not one team that really sticks out that you would think like could just walk right through and beat everybody. I mean, maybe you can argue Green Bay, but they've showed some weaknesses in that defense the past few weeks. So wouldn't surprise me to see them drop a game. So I think it's wide open this year.
Yeah, I think it's been wide open for a while, right? Ever since the salary cap came in and these guys just can't load up. Like, I mean, Tyler, before you were born, the Washington Redskins, and they were the Redskins back then, so I'm not.
But even the past few years, spread like we seen the Chiefs, like we knew the Chiefs were like going to come out of the AFC.
Okay,
so it's like point. This year, it's like you look around, it's like they're not as strong as they were. Like it wouldn't surprise you to see them get upset.
No,
like same thing with Green Bay, same thing with Tampa Bay. So it's like there's not that clear cut front runner right now.
And I like how you left out the number 1 seed in the AFC, the Tennessee Titans, but no time for Titans talk this week. We got to get into the wild cards. We open it up, Tyler. I'm still on a high from last Sunday night, man. How great was that, man? And you know, it was even funnier, right? On the prop show last week, you said, well, if the Raiders were able to pull off a miracle, right? And so, I mean, it really did feel like a miracle, too. I've been rooting for such a terrible team for so long. So nice to actually have something happen. But what I worry, though, right? I'm here as a fan. I'm already happy, right? Let's say they lose 34-3 tomorrow. I'm still going to be happy with the season, right? They gave me some excitement. They were respectable, right? I mean, we haven't seen these things from the Raiders organization since 2016. I'm worried that the team feels that way. From a strictly numbers perspective, though, I kind of like the Raiders here, right? What are you giving the Bengals for home field? 2.5, 3, right? 3 points better? About right. Maybe not. I mean, the Bengals are great, but I don't think the defense is that good either, right? High-scoring game, maybe looking towards the over as well. But as we know, a lot of these playoff games like to go under. Let's start with the side and the total on the Raiders versus the Bengals right now. Offshore, catching 5.5 for Las Vegas. And let me pull up this total again, 48. So it's come down a little bit since the last time we've talked. Talk to me about the Raiders and the Bengals. Is it going to be a miracle again, Tyler? Is it going to be a miracle if they win?
No, I mean, I'm not going to say it'd be a miracle because you got to figure this is Cincinnati. This is most of them Cincinnati guys' first playoff game, Joe Burrow's first playoff game. But then you look on the other side, it's like, oh, yeah, this is Derek Carr's first playoff game also.
That's right. Yep.
So you talked about the total and the playoff games being low scoring. I could just see this one just opening up and just being throw the ball all over the field for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
That over 48.5 I like. And you could do most receiving yards like on wild card weekend. But like highest scoring team in all those and most passing yards. Most passing yards, Joe Burrow 7-1. I don't hate. I just looked at the weather. It's going to be low 30s, but there's no wind. So they'll still be able to throw the ball deep. And you look at most receiving yards spread. This is where we're going to get value at. They have Cooper Kupp plus 470.
Wow.
Everybody else is 12-1 or higher.
Mm-hmm.
We can go T. Higgins 16-1 because we all know they're going to key and try and stop Jamar Chase.
Right.
I like that 16-1 sprinkle on T. Higgins to lead the wild card and receiving this week.
T. Higgins 16-1. We got Keg's live show, only 39 with us. What's up? Glad to see you. And DB Gnarly jumping in. We know some big talking in the Texans this week. I went over it a little bit before, but glad to see you, DB. And hopefully that team can turn it around soon. I want to talk to you about the matchup real quick, Tyler. I think the Raiders, to be successful, they're going to have to run the ball. I think this is a team they can run against. Am I being optimistic? If they're able to establish the run, I think they can keep this close and cover. Do you think they will be able to do so, though?
I'm not sure they'll be able to establish. They might have some success running the ball. Mm-hmm. My only worry, though, is if they get the success early and then all of a sudden you're down 10-0, 14-0, then you have to throw it away and start throwing the ball.
Right.
So that's my only worry here.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was the key to the game against the Chargers, right? But running against the Chargers, we talked about it all season. That was their weakness, and it's what kept them out of the playoffs.
And the other thing, too, spread is like this Cincinnati offense, probably the second most high-powered offense in the AFC right now, probably behind the Chiefs. You could argue they are more high-powered than the Chiefs right now.
Right? Oh, I think they are.
We watched the Chiefs light up this Raiders defense. these receivers might have the same success those guys have. It's just running all over the field on them. So I got to roll with Cincinnati in this one spread.
All right. That's too bad to hear, but you might be on the right side here. We will see how it goes. All right. So I'm going to watch the game with my buddies tomorrow, right? I'm going to want to have something on the Raiders. And I thought about approaching it this way. I know it's not long. What about teasing them up, though? I can get them up to 11.5. I mean, do you think they get blown out?
No, I don't think they're going to get blown out of the water. I don't hate that. The only thing is, like, aren't you teasing through numbers that aren't key numbers?
Well, you can call it, if you want to call 10 a key number.
Yeah,
it's not a traditional key number.
If you wanted the action on the Raiders, I don't hate doing that.
Okay. All right. And this was the one I was going to match it with, right? Just make it a Saturday teaser. I can bring the Patriots up to 11 here because they are +5 right now offshore. Buffalo Bills -5, total of 44. Tyler, I already think I know where you're going with, but in case people haven't seen before, we will go over it again. Remember, the New England Patriots got the win in that Monday Night Football game where the wind was blowing so hard they only threw the ball 3 times. They just lined up and beat them old school style, right? Like high school football. Yep. Just run the ball, run it right up the middle, and get a bunch of yards. Then the Bills came back. I think it was 33-21 when they rematched. And what a great victory it was there for the Buffalo Bills. Really felt like it was stronger than that, right? And it meant a lot for that team. The New England Patriots obviously been the kings of the AFC East for a while. Basically, that's about all I got. They split the games. Normally, I would like the Patriots here, but I do like the Bills' ability to score, even at that 5-point spread. I'm leaning towards Buffalo. I kind of like the Patriots teaser more, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on all these looks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate teasing the Patriots up. This is going to be an ugly game. It's going to be dead nut cold there, spread. It's going to be a high of 7 degrees tomorrow.
7?
The wind chill is going to have it negative. That ball is going to feel like a rock coming out of Josh Allen's hands. So the run game for New England, I could see having some success. Mm-hmm. But the thing about it is, like, yes, they ran it down their throat in that hurricane of a game. But we went back and looked at those stats. They had a guy that ran 20-some times for about 3 yards per carry, which is good. Mm-hmm. But the guy who did the most damage, Damian Harris, had one big chunk play for 66 yards.
Right.
Outside of that, they're in a tight game where you don't score that touchdown. Both teams are kicking field goals. Buffalo might come out of that game victorious. So I like them here to win the game. I know Belichick's going to give them problems. I could just see them getting a lead and Mac Jones having some fits with his defense, throwing some costly interceptions, turning over the ball. And I just still don't trust these weapons for the New England Patriots outside of the running backs.
Yeah, and let's be honest, not much of a weapon. I think there's probably a couple worse receiving cores, right? But they're definitely a bottom 10 receiving core there. Nelson Aguilar, right, had one good year with the Raiders, and that's because he was the 4th option. The opposing defenses weren't keen on him. N'Keal Harry, I don't know if he ever even plays. That was a miss. I thought he was going to be great coming out of Arizona State. And then they have 2 tight ends that are all right, but they're not top-level tight ends here. The key to the New England Patriots is, of course, running the ball. So are you looking towards the under here at 44?
Yeah, I like the under here. And then I'm going right back to Mac Jones passing attempts under 29.5 like we did in that Hurricane game.
Oh, yeah.
And with it being dead nut cold like this, they're going to try and run the ball and just keep it out of the air. So I could definitely see this being a run-heavy game for them.
Under 29 attempts for Mac Jones. I definitely like that look, Tyler. Anything else from this one?
The only other thing maybe I'd bet in this game would be a Dawson Knox touchdown at +250.
Yeah, that's a good look. He had some fun quotes this week, too, so it'll be interesting to see how they go. If you were just to speculate, right, from a fan's perspective, which of these games do you think will be more exciting?
The Raiders-Bengals. I think it can get high scoring to where, like, this game could just be like your grit and grind football game. So yeah, this game could be boring to watch.
Well, if you're my age and you grew up in the 80s, it might just bring you back a little bit, right, as they just hand the ball off over and over again. Unfortunately, the Bills don't run the ball that well. And I thought in the first game, that Hurricane game, right, Josh Allen has such a strong arm, it was a mistake for them to get away.
They waited too long to throw the ball. And I think they realized that, and they're not going to do that here.
All right. Yeah, they I don't think they make that mistake again. So we agree there. Our guy Keg's live show, only $39.99, says Harris over on yards and a TD. What do you think of those looks, Tyler?
Yeah, I don't hate it. He could run very well against his defense. My only worry is they're going to do everything they can to stop the run here. They're going to force Mac Jones to beat him. So, and the other part about betting these New England running backs are or they split the load. So I know it's the playoffs, so you should get the heavier workload. But my only worry is, though, is Stevenson goes in there, gets a couple carries, he looks better, and they just go to him for the rest of the game.
And as someone who's backed the Patriots a couple times, more than a couple times this season, when he switches, you don't get mad, right? When when Jacobs goes out of the game for the Raiders, right, it felt like a drop off, right? When they're ignoring some of the other backs on some of the other games, right, you get frustrated when the backup comes in. I don't feel like it's too much of a drop off there from Stevenson. So it'll be interesting to see how that one turns out. And then so you're approving my teaser, right? I'm able to just move both those guys up. You don't think either of these games are blowouts?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I think if I didn't, I don't know. It's tough. If I were to blow that one, who blows that teaser, you think?
Probably the Raiders.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I was going back and forth there, but Buffalo's got a high-powered offense.
Blown out.
Yeah, that's true. Great point there. Let's move to Sunday morning for me, afternoon for you. The Philadelphia Eagles plus 8.5. So, hey, open 9.5. It was 8.5 when we talked on Monday with Titletown. Still around 8.5, right? So that means to me the money's coming in pretty evenly here. This is really a tough one for me, Tyler. I like the Eagles when we talked on Monday, and you made some great points on why the Buccaneers might be the right side, and that plus 8.5 wasn't as attractive as I thought. Call them, they're not beer goggles, they're points goggles, right? That I keep saying. Oh, it's an 8.5 there. But that's what I was looking. You told me not so fast. Why don't we go over that again, and then, of course, go over the total and the prop?
Yeah, I mean, looking at this one, I know it's a lot of points. Tampa has been reeling. They're getting some guys back here, so they could look a bit better. There's going to be rain and 25-mile-an-hour winds here spread in Tampa Bay. Jalen Hurts is not going to be able to throw in that weather, so they're going to have to run the ball. Tampa's pretty good at stopping the run. I know the past few weeks they haven't done very well, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him get right back on track and stuff this team and force him to turn the ball over through the air a few times. So that worries me here for the Philly side. Now, the thing about Philly that's a positive, or they threw out last week's game. They knew they were locked into the playoffs. They sat their guys. They've been preparing for Tampa Bay pretty much for 2 weeks because they knew unless they lost to the Carolina Panthers, what they weren't going to do, that they were going to draw them. So they knew this was the team they were going to play. They've been preparing for them. I think the defense will show some good stuff to stop Brady early. Give me that under 23.5 in the first half. I could see this being an ugly first half game with the weather. Them feeling them out for 2 weeks, having him prepared to slow down that offense, takes Brady a little bit more time to get going. And then Philly's offense just could be stagnant the whole game. So give me that under 23.5 in the first half.
All right, under 23.5. Yeah, interesting. And we will see, Nick Sirianni, rookie coach. Interesting season, right? I remember halfway through the year, right, on our review show, we were thinking Sirianni wasn't even going to make another year, right? He was making analogies about growing weed or flowers or something, right? And roots. And we're like, what is this guy on, right? They finished 9-8? They get a playoff spot. Not bad at all for a rookie coach, right? Definitely exceeding expectations. And you can say that he's doing so, with not necessarily the most talented roster. What I will say about the roster and why I am intrigued in grabbing the points here, I think on the lines that they can hang, right? I think both the offensive, defensive line are, if they're not as good, right? They're pretty close to Tampa. What do you think of that assessment?
Their defensive lines?
Yeah, well, yeah, basically both. Yeah, I think that they can hang on the line.
I think their offensive line, their defensive line could maybe give Tampa Bay a little bit of troubles, but Tampa's offensive line is so good at pass protection. Brady just has so much time to throw the ball. And I don't think Philly's offensive line, we all know guys have been getting banged up on that offensive line. Wouldn't surprise me to see a guy go in and play 3 snaps and be out the game, and there's a giant hole in their offensive line for the rest of the game. So I'd watch out for that, but I don't think they're going to be able to hold up against these guys that they're getting back for Tampa Bay.
You know what the best move would have been, and if I ran the NFL, I would have forced this to happen. Philly should have signed AB. Yeah, that would have been awesome, right? Because they need some receiver help, right? Maybe he looks Jalen Hurts even better, but we know that's not going to happen. So your final call on this game, are you laying the 8.5 here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I'm not going to lay it. I like that first half under, and I'd be willing to tease this down to 2.5.
Yeah, that's the long teaser. That's the one that we always like. And I was actually surprised it sat at 8.5, which tells me that not a lot of people are doing that, right? Or don't you think they would move it to 9? I think 9's pretty much a dead number, but the difference between 2.5 and 3 on that teaser is huge. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, didn't this open around 7.5? So they
No,
bet
it
it up.
opened at 9.5.
Oh, it opened at 9. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe a lot of people love this Eagles team spread, but they played a very soft schedule all year. I just don't
Yeah,
trust
they
them
did
in this
have the
spot.
easiest strength of schedule of any
Yeah.
teams in the playoffs. That's a great point. Another one to put in. And anyone that's in the NFC East had an easy schedule, as we'll get to with our next game. Bobsky's got a question, though, before we get to the next game. This is a good question, Bobsky. How do you feel about Jalen Hurts rush yards? 49.5. It's at minus 114. Little extra juice, but not enough to scare us away. Do you think that's a good look?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, this defensive line could have pressure on him all game to where he has to leave the pocket and run. And we see him the moment pressure's on him, he's tucking it and going. So I like that over 49.5.
All right, over 49.5. He's going there. Dexter Rojas, right? You know, you've been doing this on the NBA show, Tyler. He's not afraid to take a money line dog here. He says the Eagles shocked the world. I don't know if the whole world will be shocked, but definitely the NFL community. I personally don't know how shocked I would be.
After knowing that they've been preparing for them for 2 weeks and they game plan for them, it honestly wouldn't surprise me to see them go out and beat them after they've lost all their weapons and everything.
Yeah, that's what I said. Is Tampa in a good spot right now as a team?
Not necessarily, but I think this is a spot where they can pick up the W and move on.
Yeah,
but it's Tampa Bay spread and it's Tom Brady. Like we're saying this now. Would it surprise you if they tiptoed through the playoffs and they're in the Super Bowl? No,
of course
exactly.
Not.
So
of course not. Yeah,
they're in this weird spot where I'm not sure, and I don't trust the Eagles. So tease it down to 2.5. I trust Brady in the playoffs.
Man, after hitting all those money long dogs on the NBA show, Tyler, doesn't that plus 327 look good?
The next game's on a money line dog.
Yeah, all right. Not as juicy, but I agree with you here. Let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers. Tyler had to run to the store in between shows today. I had to pick up these nice little sparkling ices. Very, very, very good drink. They're talking about the 49ers on the radio. They are hyped up here. They played some song. They've written a song about Deebo Samuel, like a folk song version about him, extolling the praises of Deebo Samuel. That's how hyped up they are for this 49ers team. Tyler, I felt a little bit vindicated, right? Because I was kind of the one sticking up for Jimmy G during the year on our review show with Titletown. And I felt that he did pretty well to end the season, right? And now he gets another chance to really make a mark, because I would say that around here, right, people think the 49ers have a chance. I think that most places, people really like the Cowboys here. The money's been split, but that says to me the gamblers just are going to grab +3 in what should be a close game. Not too surprising there. That line indicates to me that the bookmakers think that these teams are pretty close to even, which is wild to me, because, boy, we talked about if we were looking at this 3 weeks ago. Remember, we love the Cowboys. We had them power ranked so high. For them to be pretty close to even now, I would say is a surprise. But I would say it's also correct, right? Dallas getting a little beat up. Michael Gallup, you talked about the catch he made. Well, he tore his ACL, but he tore his ACL. Won't be there today or on Sunday morning. I don't know, Tyler. I like the Niners here. I just think they have the ability to run the ball, and they can keep the ball out of Dallas's hands. And I think it's just really tough. Kyle Shanahan, I've been down on him at certain points of the season, but I really think this is a great spot for him and for his team and the way that he likes to run his offense. Of course, him and Dan Quinn should know each other well, right? He worked for Dan Quinn in that famous 28-3 Super Bowl. Dan Quinn, the head coach, Kyle Shanahan, the offensive coordinator. Shanahan, now the head coach for the 49ers. What Dan Quinn will be the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. What a great game. And Tyler, I said it before, in the 90s, when I was younger, this was the game of the year, right? It didn't matter if it was regular season. Niners Cowboys was it. We get a little bit of nostalgia as well. I'm really hyped for this one. I like the Niners. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. Give me the Niners here. Give me them to win this game. I already told you I picked them to win the NFC and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Everyone's talked about the Steelers are back in their spot when they played Seattle in Super Bowl 40 when they're not supposed to be in the playoffs. Yeah. That's not them this year. That's San Francisco. They're the team that runs the ball down your throat. Their front seven's pretty good. Now, their secondary has been a weakness of their own. But if they can get you time of possession and put you into a weird spot where you're playing from behind and you're just not in a rhythm already, you're just not going to be able to throw against this team. And Nick Bosa is going to be all over the quarterback. So give me the 49ers here spread. Give me the better coach. He's going to have Michael Parsons out there on an island with the way they're going to run their offense and try and get him out of there. I like Kittle over 50.5 receiving yards because Dallas plays a ton of man defense. He gets open in the middle. He'll start running people over to get more yards. He could easily chunk off a 35 to 40-yard catch, and you're sitting gold, and you only need 2 more catches. So I like that over 50.5. I like him to win the game. And FanDuel has specials where it says Elijah Mitchell to have 100-plus rushing yards and to score 1+ touchdown plus 350. I like that also.
See that one more time?
Mitchell to have 100-plus rushing yards and to score a touchdown.
So the Niners don't even need to win. It's just he just needs to go off. Ooh, I really like that. Tyler, another one they were really touting on the radio because, of course, I was listening to the Niners flagship station, KNBR. But that Dak, if you take out all the games where he's a 7-point favorite or more, his passer rating's not that good. He's really brought up his stats against these weaker teams, and he's in the NFC East. I mean, the most brutal division in football. And I said it before, right? The Cowboys, they average 38.3 against the NFC East, right? That's how many points per game, right? And I haven't done the average in my head, right? But I know that knocks their average down, right? And they're running up the score against the Giants, the Eagles when they sat everybody, right? Against the football team who ended up not being a very good defense, right? Let's see how they do against a good team. Meanwhile, the Niners were sitting over there playing in the NFC West, which is just a bunch of juggernauts. Like, say what you want about the Rams, but that's a tough matchup, a tough football game. Cardinals have been up and down, but they've been managing to get it done. And the Seahawks even showed some life before the end of the season there. So, what's that? Iron sharpens iron, or steel sharpens steel. Metal sharpens metal. And I feel like the heavy metal that the Niners have been playing is a lot tougher than what the Dallas Cowboys have been playing. So it sounds like we're on the same side here. Thoughts on the total here? 51, highest total of the weekend. Do you think that's justified?
I like the under here. I mean, I can see why it's that high. It's inside the dome. Both offenses have put up a ton of points. San Francisco's yards per play is outrageous. They're first in the league. But they're going to try and keep time of possession in this game and keep Dallas's offense off the field. Mm-hmm. That makes me like the under here. So give me the under 51. I think that's too many points too high. I think it should be like 48.5. Mm-hmm. I like the under 51.
I like unders a lot of times in these playoff games, right? A lot of times these guys come out slow, a little bit conservative. I heard on a different one. I think it was PFF. They're saying a turnover is worth 4.5 points now.
Yeah,
right. So, I mean, and then I started thinking about it. And I said, it makes sense, right? How many times does whoever wins the turnover battle wins the game straight up? And definitely, covers the spread if you win that turnover battle. Speaking of turnovers, I got Mr. New to Town, Twatty Latte in the chat. He's making, I would say it's a bold prediction, but honestly, it's not that bold the way he plays. He says Trayvon Diggs is going to give up at least 2 TDs, probably get a pick. How do you think that he's going to do? Basically, the clone of Marcus Peters, right? Well, Marcus Peters Jr., right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll have a decent game, but just like Twatty said, he plays this weird coverage where he tries to bait you into throwing it. Yeah. And Debo's going to burn him a couple times, and I think he's going to give up a few big ones and probably a couple of touchdowns. So,
yeah, they're loving that matchup on the radio. Yeah, that was it. They had to cut the guy off. Like, he was a Niners version of a Yinzer, right, Tyler? He's like, and Debo's going to get the ball and run right over Diggs, and they're like, okay, buddy, we'll go to the next caller now. But they are pretty hyped here. What do you think of Dexter Rose's comment here? He says Trey Sermon's going to be a big factor.
Yeah, I mean, that's another bull of a running back they can use that they didn't have before. They had Jermichael Hasty backing him up, and he's not really a great running back. So now Sermon can go back there. Yeah. He could beat you up a little bit while Mitchell takes a rest on the sideline. So, yeah, that could be a big factor.
Yeah, Dexter Rose is definitely with you. He's going to be on the Niners. He caught a 3.5. I don't see that right now, but if you got it, great number. He says the Niners defense and offense will play time of possession. So it sounds like the whole the show, the panels, the chat, we're all in sync here. Let's see what happens. Pretty popular underdog. Probably the most popular underdog of the weekend. Tyler, this underdog's not going to be popular with me. I'm sorry, Yinzers. I love Mike Tomlin. That's been a running theme on the show. Is I think that Mike Tomlin, greatest coach in the NFL. I think this is going to be too much for him. I still think you should get Coach of the Year for dragging that offensive line to the playoffs. Tyler, this team's terrible. I mean, yes, they won. Yes, they did good. Yes, I mean, great, good for them. But let's be honest. Last weekend, we didn't expect them to play. We all thought that was Ben's last game, right?
Yep.
Because all that happened was the Colts had to beat the Jaguars. Shame on you, Carson Wentz, for giving us this playoff game because I like Tomlin. I like the Steelers. I just don't think this is a playoff roster. The offensive line is bad. The defense is ridiculously dependent on TJ Watt. Najee Harris is a stud, man. Let's give this guy a line and let him work. I think your receivers are good. You got good receivers. Is Ben going to get him there? Can he turn back the clock? I'm laying it with the Chiefs. They're laying 13. I'm not afraid. I'll take it all the way up to 13.5. What are your thoughts, Tyler? You know, I'm pretty popular among the Yinzers. They're not going to be happy with me now, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. Kansas City should just walk through this game. I mean, Pittsburgh, Chris Jones and these guys are just going to be all over Ben. Mm-hmm. I just don't see him being able to do much with the offense. They have no real push on the offensive line to run the ball. So the way I'm looking at it, I don't want to lay 12 because 12 is a lot. You could do the money line / total points parlay on FanDuel. Kansas City to win the game in under 46.5 plus 115. Give me that all day. They're going to win this game like 24-10, somewhere in there. So I like that.
And remember, this game was 36-3 with 2 minutes to go. When they met up in week 16. And then they got the little score against the prevent defense, right? So good for them. But oh man, I think it's a rough matchup on both sides of the ball because number one, if TJ Watt, he's going to get pressure, right? Who's the good guy to avoid it? He's not, all he's got to do is extend that play. And when he gets it to those weapons, right? Mika Fitzpatrick can only cover one of them.
Yep.
I think it's just a tough matchup there for the Steelers. I think maybe some hope you would say is that Tyreek Hill, right? Maybe still injured a little bit. Didn't seem to be 100% in that last game. And of course, they need his explosiveness. And I don't know how high I'm on the Chiefs overall, because, I like the Titans there to come out of the AFC. But I just don't think that 2 years ago or whenever they changed this playoffs, this wouldn't have been a playoff team, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see that this weekend. So
even the books disrespect this team spread. Their Super Bowl odds are 90-1. Mm-hmm. The Jets before the season were 45-1.
Yeah, but they got Zach Wilson. Let's look at what the chat thinks. So Dexter Rojas is against me here. The Yinzers will be happy with Dexter. They'll take me out. They'll take my fat head down and start praising Dexter. He says time of possession. Steelers plus 13. They run the ball with Benny Snell. Oh, Benny Snell. There's a blast from the past. Najee Harris is a stud, though. I can't deny him. Let's look at the way that Twatty's going to approach this game. He says he's going to tease it down to 39.5. KC 6.5. Best bet over 16.5 there for the Steelers. What do you think? They have a better offensive performance than they did last time they met?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could. They're just going to throw it all out there in this game. This is Ben's definite last game if they lose. So
yeah,
the whole playbook's going to be out there. Now,
can you imagine the speech that Tomlin's going to give? I mean, that's going to be the Braveheart levels of excellence there. I wish I could hear that. Twatty says 34-21. He wants a push. Twatty says the bookmakers have done a great job. Twatty likes the over there. Viral's got a teaser for us. He says, are we ready for the craziest teaser on Saturday? 13 point. The Bengals plus 7, Raiders plus 18, Bills plus 9, Bills under 56. Yeah, there you go. There we go. This would not be good. If Ben throws 55
he's like
times,
he's like 1-13 in playoff games when he's thrown more than 33 times.
Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, this team's always been hard-nosed, win at the line of scrimmage. The problem is they can't win on the offensive side of the ball at the line of scrimmage. Let's see what Keg's live show has to say. He says Mahomes has the same right tackle they had last year when Mahomes was harassed all playoffs. What do you think of that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could hurt down the line against a better defense. But, yeah, Watt could be all over him. Just got to remember, Tampa had weapons all over that defense that were just lurking in the secondary and everywhere else as those guys were chasing them. It's basically going to be Watt just chasing him on Sunday.
Yeah, I always get worried about this. He thinks that Watt's going to be all over him. He says the Chiefs are on their third right tackle. Yeah, that's a concern. Maybe I'll eat it. This is my square play for the whole weekend. I just don't think the Steelers deserve to be in the playoffs. Now, Tyler, we'll talk about this one a little more on Monday, but do you have any thoughts right now on the Rams laying 3.5 against the Cardinals? Total 49.5. Of course, we're going to do a full preview of it on Monday, but is there to the people getting in on a number now?
I mean, I don't think it's going to move much. I think the Rams wax this team. I just don't trust the Cardinals to win this game. I just think the Rams go out, they smash them. No matter how bad Stafford could be in this game, I still think they get the job done. I don't trust Kyler Murray. I don't trust Cliff Kingsbury in this matchup. Give me McVay and Stafford here at home.
Yeah, I think it's going to be nice for the Rams too because the Rams have problems with the Niners that like to run the ball, right? But the Rams really built up that secondary, and I think that they're going to do better against a team that wants to go out and throw the ball around there with them. He's saying James Conner wasn't at practice today, and Twatty's not a fan of Cliff Kingsbury. So that is the breakdown for NFL Wildcard Weekend. We gave out a lot of sides. We gave out a lot of totals, and you gave out a lot of props. But which one, right? Let's say there's a viewer. He's only got 1 unit to bet, but he wants some action this weekend. What is your very best bet of the weekend, Tyler?
For the sides, it's going to be that the under first half in the Tampa Bay Eagles game, under 23.5.
Okay.
And then for the prop, it's going to be over 50.5 receiving yards for George Kittle.
Over 50.5 receiving yards for George Kittle. All right, boy, there's so many good options here. I'm going to stay away from Saturday. You know my teaser for that. But, boy, Sunday, why would I give out 13 when I can give out a plus 142 money line?
Yeah, I knew
Give me the San Francisco 49ers. I think they get it done. Another feather in the cap of Jimmy G as he just keeps upping his trade value for the eventual transition to Trey Lance in San Francisco. But, boy, I like this. He's going to make it hard for them to do. Cowboys really overrated going against the NFC East and got the worst possible draw that they could possibly get with that tough, hard-nosed Niners team that loves to run the ball. And Twatty's throwing out one for him. And we got to give it to him because he's always here. And this guy knows his stuff, whether it be NFL or college football. But this is his best bet. He likes that Hurts rushing yards over. And, in fact, I didn't throw the comment over, but he said there's a chance that he thinks he gets over 100. Homer pick. I'm a Raiders fan. Hey, that's a legitimate pick there. That's a legitimate pick. But anyways, thank you, everybody, for joining us. I know a lot of people don't watch live because, currently the NBA Hardwood Live show's on, and you guys are trying to get all the information for the Up to Lock show. But if you're watching after the fact, hey, don't be shy. Please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And then, of course, share it with your friends so they can also find out, and maybe they'll text you, right? Like, that guy Spread's an idiot, right? We give you something to talk about, right? So go ahead, share it with your friends, like the video. Tyler, anything else you'd like to say before we sign off?
Nope. I mean, just be in the Discord this weekend because this is the last live video until Monday. We'll have Jay live for the games on Saturday in the UFC event and then live Sunday for the playoff games. But we won't be back till Monday, so stay in the Discord for us for NBA news for those games on Saturday and Sunday. We'll definitely have picks up.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, I'm going to be doing some Australian Open prep. Tyler, I've been doing the daily fantasy for the tennis, but I'm ready to start putting some bets on the spreadsheet, really breaking it down. And I'm just sitting there as I'm nailing all these games and all these core plays, right? And I'm like, why aren't I putting these on the sheet? Make a commitment to start doing that next week with the Australian Open, which should be so much fun. So make sure you subscribe to the Run Pure Bets YouTube channel. But I don't really have anything else to say, Tyler. But go Raiders. Raiders run pure.